is one of the most remote, unforgiving regions on the planet. Vast, frozen, and still largely unknown. Beneath Antarctica's towering walls of ice lie hints, remnants, and formations that could reshape how we view Earth's past and challenge everything we thought we understood about early civilizations. For generations, Antarctica existed only as an empty white void on ancient maps, a distant and untouched realm far beyond the borders of the known world. Nearly twice the size of Australia, wider than the entire expanse of Europe, and holding nearly all of the planet's frozen water, Antarctica remains one of Earth's last true mysteries. But as new tools emerged, as satellites scanned deeper, as explorers pushed farther into the white silence, something unexpected began to appear. From old cartographic records depicting the continent without ice, to modern scans revealing geometric patterns far too clean and deliberate to dismiss, Antarctica slowly shifted from a simple frozen desert to a place surrounded by whispers. Whispers of concealed research areas, hidden structures, strange artifacts, and sightings no one can fully explain. And in this documentary-style journey, we investigate the discoveries made on this isolated continent. Stories preserved through time, evidence unearthed by explorers, and the possibilities of what might lie far beneath the ice sheet. You'll hear the theories, you'll witness the clues, and ultimately, you'll decide what this frozen world could truly be protecting. In 2016, a series of satellite photographs over the Ellsworth Mountains ignited a wave of fascination. Amid the ridges and blinding white terrain, one formation stood out. A towering peak with razor-sharp faces and a perfectly angled summit. Seen from above, it resembled something almost impossible, a structure shaped like the pyramids of ancient Egypt. This unusual formation rises from the southern edge of the Ellsworth Mountain Range, a harsh and isolated area not far from the Patriot Hills Research Outpost. It reaches roughly 4,150 feet into the sky and is unmistakable when viewed from above. Geologists who examine the terrain suggest that the pyramid-like shape is not man-made, but rather the product of thousands of years of wind, pressure, and erosion. They classify it as a nunatak, a rocky mountain peak pushing through layers of ancient ice, standing alone against the frozen landscape. Over countless millennia, relentless winds, brutal cold, and endless cycles of freezing and thawing have shaped this remote peak into the sharp, triangular form we recognize today. This process, known as freeze-thaw weathering, is common in icy regions and can carve surprisingly precise angles into solid rock. Peaks with similar pyramid-like profiles can be found in mountain ranges, such as the Swiss Alps, including the iconic Matterhorn. Still, the Antarctic pyramid stands apart. Most naturally formed triangular peaks have only one or two clean faces. This one appears to have four, creating a shape that looks almost too geometric to be accidental. That's why some researchers, along with a number of independent theorists, argue that this formation might be something more than just a mountain. They propose that it may have once been a human-made structure, possibly a pyramid, now sealed beneath thousands of years of accumulating ice. These theories grow even more intriguing when compared to ancient pyramids found across the world. Structures in Egypt, Mexico, and Peru share similar architectural traits. Massive bases, angled sides, and striking alignment with cardinal directions. Some believe this global pattern hints at a shared origin, perhaps knowledge passed down from a forgotten civilization. Others suggest that early cultures may have invented the pyramid shape independently, selecting it for its unmatched stability and symbolic significance. A similar line of thought surrounds the so-called Bosnian pyramids, where supporters claim natural hills may conceal stepped structures dating back to prehistoric eras, while mainstream archaeologists dismiss these ideas. Proponents highlight the smooth slopes and clean edges as hints of artificial engineering. Lately, these same arguments are being directed toward areas of the Ellsworth Mountains. Observers point out that several nearby ridges and snow-covered rises seem to form pyramid-like outlines as well. On satellite imagery, some peaks display symmetrical edges and what look like square bases. What makes the Antarctic formations so captivating, yet so frustrating, is the sheer difficulty of studying them. The continent lies under a colossal ice sheet, in some areas more than a mile deep. Only tiny fragments of land break through the frozen surface. With severe weather, extreme isolation, and tight international restrictions, large-scale ground investigations are nearly impossible. And so, whatever truth is hidden there remains concealed beneath the ice. In recent years, improved satellite technology has allowed researchers to study Antarctica with new clarity. High-altitude scans have uncovered more unusual shapes scattered across the frozen terrain. Among them are large shadowed forms that resemble doorways cut into rock, and patterns that look eerily like staircases. These discoveries have sparked debates and fueled speculation across scientific and alternative communities alike. One of the most frequently discussed formations lies in a remote region of East Antarctica. There, a large rectangular opening is visible against a rugged rock wall, framed by thick layers of snow and ice. The shape is striking. Its edges are sharp, its angles unusually clean, and its dark interior contrasts sharply with the surrounding white landscape. Based on satellite measurements, some believe this doorway could be several meters tall and wide, vast enough for an aircraft to enter. Glaciologists have proposed natural explanations. They argue that the shifting of ice around bedrock, combined with strong winds and fluctuating temperatures, can create smooth openings. As ice melts and refreezes, cavities form. And when snow layers shift, these gaps may appear geometric. Others suggest the doorway might simply be a ridgetop newly exposed as ice levels drop. Another strange feature appears on one of the southernmost islands near the Antarctic coast. There, a wide cave entrance emerges at the base of a snow-cloaked mountain. Its interior is pitch dark, preventing any view of what lies inside. Yet the surroundings raise even more questions. At the foot of the slope, a series of dark horizontal bands stretch across the snow. These lines run evenly and climb upward in a pattern that resembles a staircase leading into the mountain. This stepped layout is difficult to explain using typical geological processes. Natural layering rarely forms such clean, evenly spaced platforms. Some speculate these shapes could result from ancient collapses or unusual melting behavior. Still, the symmetry, the spacing, and the orderly design suggest something far more deliberate. Whether these Antarctic formations are natural wonders or clues to a deeper, hidden history, the debate continues. What makes the mystery even more compelling is how certain features seem to shift over time. Some years, the steps and openings stand out clearly, and in other years, they appear to disappear beneath fresh blankets of snow. Then, after powerful winds or seasonal changes sweep the region, they return, sometimes looking altered, sharper, or strangely more defined. Yet far back in Earth's history, Antarctica was nothing like the frozen world we know now. Long before it transformed into a desolate realm of ice, storms, and endless white horizons. This same continent may have been home to flowing rivers, dense forests, and thriving ecosystems. A steadily growing collection of scientific discoveries paints a picture of a dramatically different past, one that inspires curiosity, wonder, and controversy. For more than 100 years, researchers studying rocks and ancient plant life have unearthed fossilized forests preserved deep beneath Antarctica's icy shell. Near the Beardmore Glacier, only about 500 kilometers from the South Pole, members of Robert Falcon Scott's 1912 expedition stumbled upon leaves that looked remarkably similar to modern beech trees. At first, many believed it was a mistake. Later, analyses proved the find was real. Even farther south, on Alexander Island in the Antarctic Peninsula, scientists uncovered upright fossil trees, still standing where they once grew. Some of these stone-like trunks stretched up to 7 meters high. Surrounding them were layers of ancient pollen, leaves, and the remnants of a once lush, temperate rainforest that flourished around 100 million years ago. These forests were part of a much larger landscape, complete with winding rivers, wetlands, and sprawling coastlines. And even though the continent sat near the South Pole, global temperatures were dramatically warmer than today. The fossil record suggests average temperatures ranged from 13 to 21 degrees Celsius, without harsh winters or freezing months. These conditions allowed evergreens, conifers, and large ferns to dominate the environment, surviving the long polar nights. More recent drilling projects beneath the ice have confirmed what earlier fossils hinted at. A team from Reis University uncovered the ancient pollen deep within ocean sediments near the Antarctic Peninsula, showing that tundra-like plant life survived there as recently as 12 million years ago. Before that, glaciers had begun to form slowly, steadily, over millions of years. This evidence makes one thing clear. Antarctica didn't turn into an icy wasteland overnight. The shift was gradual, and certain regions stayed free of ice far longer than scientists once believed. This history leads to a provocative question. With so much time and long stretches of habitable conditions, could early humans or pre-human cultures have lived on this continent? Mainstream science firmly says no. According to current evidence, Homo sapiens have existed for only about 300,000 years, while massive Antarctic ice sheets have persisted far longer, over 14 million years, based on the oldest samples. And yet, isolated reports and controversial claims continue to fuel speculation. One such account involves a geological team that reported discovering remains of an enormous stone structure near the Doubleday Glacier. They described it as a building supported by columns, with a foundation large enough to rival a Roman amphitheater. Alongside the stone blocks were strange artifacts and coins marked with unusual animal symbols. No peer-reviewed research has validated the discovery. But the very suggestion of such a structure deep in Antarctica sparked waves of debate, fascination, and skepticism. Another enduring piece of this mystery is the famous Piri Reis map. Drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer, the map accurately shows portions of South America, along with a mysterious landmass to the south. What stands out is that this southern shape resembles Antarctica's real coastline, but without ice. Supporters argue that such accuracy would have been impossible in the 16th century, unless Piri Reis had access to far older source maps. According to this theory, his chart may have been based on ancient documents created by a forgotten civilization with advanced knowledge of navigation and geography. This idea was championed by historian Charles Hapgood, who proposed that a prehistoric seafaring culture had mapped much of the world, including an ice-free Antarctica, thousands of years before recorded history. Although Hapgood's ideas faced heavy criticism from academics, they became widely popular in books and documentaries. He suggested that the Piri Reis map may depict Antarctica as it appeared during the last ice age, possibly between 10,000 and 4,000 BC, when certain regions could have been free of ice. Many argue that the accuracy of South America's coastline alone is impressive for the era. The appearance of a large southern continent, real or theoretical, reflects old beliefs in Terra Australis, a mythical land thought to balance the globe. While explorers would eventually confirm the real Antarctic continent, questions still remain. How did earlier cartographers imagine it so precisely? And what older sources were they drawing from? Adding even more intrigue, modern satellite imaging and ice-penetrating radar have uncovered enormous ancient landscapes hidden beneath East Antarctica's ice sheet. Scientists recently mapped a region of buried valleys, plateaus, and ridges roughly the size of Belgium. Shaped long ago by rivers and weather patterns, this preserved landscape has remained untouched for at least 14 million years. Remarkably, it resembles the scenery of northern Europe, with rolling hills, expansive plateaus, and networks of waterways. Researchers suggest that during warmer periods in Earth's past, this hidden terrain may have supported vegetation, and perhaps even living creatures.
Something profound occurred, something far greater than a local shift. Antarctica's transformation wasn't an isolated incident at the bottom of the world. It was part of a sweeping global change in Earth's climate, a repeating rhythm woven through geological time.
Scientists have understood for years that our planet's climate is never truly stable. It cycles between warm stretches, known as interglacials, and long frozen phases referred to as ice ages. The most recent major ice age began roughly 2.6 million years ago and reached its icy height around 20,000 years in the past. It faded away about 12,000 years ago, ushering in the warm era we live in now. During these natural swings, entire landscapes can be reshaped beyond recognition. Regions once lush with life can become smothered under glaciers. Seas can shrink or swell. Species scatter, adjust, or vanish forever. Antarctica's shift from a thriving, temperate world into a frozen desolation is perhaps the most dramatic example of this planetary pattern. But there may have been another force at play, one far more dramatic than atmospheric change alone. Some researchers point toward the motion of Earth's own axis. This idea, called true polar wander or crustal displacement, proposes that the entire outer shell of the planet can glide over its interior, repositioning the geographic poles themselves. Unlike slow variations in tilt or wobble, true polar wander could occur far more quickly, dragging whole continents into entirely different climate zones. If such a shift happened in Earth's distant past, it might explain how Antarctica drifted from a mild region into the deep South Pole, while the concept remains debated among scientists. Evidence suggests Earth's crust has moved before. Certain ancient shorelines and rock patterns hint that parts of the surface have shifted dramatically across time. Around these ideas swirls a more mysterious thread, one tied to the predictions of Edgar Cayce, often nicknamed the Sleeping Prophet. In trance sessions during the early 1900s, Casey described a coming upheaval of the Earth. He spoke of rising oceans, altered climates, and entire lands sinking into the sea. Among his most alarming visions was the belief that Antarctica, long assumed dead and empty, would one day become fertile and livable again. Casey insisted that shifts in Earth's axis would unleash massive floods, revealing forgotten lands while sweeping away modern ones. He described a future in which Antarctica thawed, blossomed, and returned to life. If these ideas echo some ancient memory, they raise a chilling possibility. Perhaps a civilization long before ours once lived on Antarctica, only to be erased when the climate shifted and the poles moved. Could the ice conceal not only ancient forests, but evidence of a people lost to time? Beyond these theories, the forbidden continent hides mysteries that are entirely real and deeply astonishing. Among them are Antarctica's subglacial lakes, enormous hidden bodies of water sealed beneath kilometers of ice. The most famous is Lake Vostok, a colossal freshwater lake buried nearly 4,000 meters below the East Antarctic ice sheet. Lake Vostok may have been isolated for 15 to 25 million years. In this pitch-black, high-pressure world, scientists suspect life could still exist, making it one of the most extreme environments ever explored. When Russian researchers finally pierced the ice above it in 2012, after more than 10 years of drilling, they broke through into a realm untouched by air or sunlight since long before humans existed. Under enormous pressure, the lake water burst upward and mixed with the drilling fluids, ending the mission before uncontaminated samples could be taken. But Lake Vostok is just one among hundreds. Over 400 subglacial lakes have now been discovered across Antarctica. Some are as vast as metropolitan cities. Others are small and transient, filling and draining like unseen reservoirs beneath the ice. These lakes remain liquid not from sunlight, but from geothermal heat and the crushing insulation of the ice above. They are threaded together by networks of subglacial rivers, forming what some researchers describe as a hidden, frozen wetland. Recent missions have reached a few of these lakes. At Lake Mercer, beneath the West Antarctic ice sheet, researchers found something remarkable. In absolute darkness and unimaginable pressure, they uncovered a community of microbial life. Without sunlight, without oxygen, without nutrients from the surface, these organisms were not only alive, but flourishing. Some scientists believe these lakes might even support simple animals, tiny creatures reminiscent of tardigrades or microscopic worms. Another remarkable site is Lake Enigma. This sub-ice lake contains strange structures and thick microbial carpets that resemble mats, spires, and tree-like forms across the lakebed. These ecosystems include microbial species never encountered in such environments before. Some survive by forming intricate relationships, cooperative or parasitic, with other microorganisms. The level of biological complexity left even seasoned scientists astonished. In other places, collapsing ice shelves have revealed glimpses of untouched seafloor. One such event exposed a hidden ecosystem under the George VI ice shelf. For centuries, this area had been sealed off by ice. Yet beneath the darkness, scientists found huge corals, oversized sea spiders, fish, octopuses, and other creatures thriving undisturbed. Their size and age suggested they had lived there for decades, relying on nutrient-rich waters drifting in from faraway currents. In another surprising moment, researchers drilling through the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf found a boulder on the seafloor covered with stationary animals, sponges and filter feeders, living 260 kilometers from the nearest source of light. No one expected life here. Yet somehow, these creatures were feeding, growing, and enduring in an environment thought too extreme for any such survival. Their food must travel extraordinary distances along slow, deep currents. But it is enough. Despite all these discoveries, most of Antarctica remains locked away. Harsh conditions, strict treaties, and fragile ecosystems make deep exploration incredibly difficult. The vast majority of the continent is untouched. Entire regions have never been mapped. But from the few windows science has opened into this frozen world, one thing is clear: Antarctica is far from lifeless. One of the most shocking sights in the entire region is something no scientist expected: a crimson waterfall in the middle of ice and snow. Deep within the McMurdo Dry valleys, a shocking red flow spills from the face of the Taylor Glacier. Known as Blood Falls, it is one of the most surreal features on the continent. Its color is so vivid and eerie that for years it was considered one of Antarctica's greatest natural mysteries. Viewed up close, Blood Falls appears almost unreal, like the glacier itself is bleeding. The 5-story tall waterfall streaks the ice with deep red, staining its surroundings like a wound. Standing amid one of the driest, coldest deserts on Earth, this burst of color is as haunting as it is beautiful. And the truth behind it is every bit as incredible as its appearance. More than 5 million years ago, long before the glaciers claimed this valley, the entire region lay beneath the ocean. And when the waters finally withdrew, pockets of salty seawater remained behind, slowly becoming trapped under accumulating layers of ice. Pressed beneath nearly 400 meters of glacier, this ancient lake was sealed away from the atmosphere, from sunlight, and from oxygen itself. Over countless ages, the water grew denser, saltier, and increasingly saturated with iron and minerals drawn from the surrounding rock. Today, immense pressure beneath the glacier forces this iron-heavy, super salty water up through a narrow crack in the ice. When it emerges into the open air and meets oxygen for the first time in millions of years, the iron reacts, rusting instantly, and the water turns a deep, striking red. The result is the unsettling, almost surreal sight of what appears to be blood pouring from the heart of a glacier. But the mystery of Blood Falls goes far deeper than its unusual chemistry. Hidden inside this crimson water is a completely isolated ecosystem of microscopic organisms. Scientists have found extremophiles, tiny life forms capable of surviving in utter darkness, in brine thick as syrup, and without a single breath of oxygen. Instead, they feed on iron and sulfur, having adapted to conditions nearly untouched since ancient times. Their existence offers a rare glimpse into how life might endure in unimaginably harsh environments on Earth, and perhaps how it could survive on icy worlds like Europa or Enceladus. Yet even with scientific explanations in hand, Blood Falls has remained a magnet for speculation and theories far outside the mainstream. Some believe that the flow is not simply natural, but part of a hidden vent system connected to something buried below. Something built, not formed. According to these theories, the red water might be the byproduct of an underground facility long forgotten beneath the ice. Others go further still, suggesting the leak originates from a biological experiment. an ancient or modern laboratory deep under the glacier, using minerals and microbial life for purposes unknown. Despite the ongoing work of researchers across Antarctica, there are stories that continue to defy expectations and stretch the limits of logic. Beyond the frozen lakes and the buried landscapes, beyond the fossils and the ancient shorelines, lie tales hinting that this icy continent may hide secrets far stranger than anything science has yet confirmed. Among the most enduring of these legends is that of the Ningen, a creature said to haunt the frigid waters around Antarctica. Often described as enormous and ghostly white, the Ningen is said to stretch up to 30 meters long, with a shape disturbingly similar to a human. Witnesses from Japanese research vessels have claimed to see a pale figure rising silently from the sea, only to slip back beneath the waves without a sound. Its face, they say, appears strangely human. Two small eyes positioned above a broad, expressionless mouth. Some versions of the legend describe the Ningen with long arms and hands. Others portray it as a smooth, finned being that drifts effortlessly through the water, nearly indistinguishable from floating ice. The first modern reference to the Ningen surfaced in Japanese online forums in the early 2000s. Yet the story quickly spread through popular culture. Some believe it could be an undiscovered marine species, perhaps a surviving remnant from an era when Antarctica was lush and alive. Others go much further, suggesting the creature might be intelligent, maybe even able to move on land. And there are those who insist that governments already know the truth, and that the Ningen's existence is concealed because of its scientific or strategic value. Another myth, far older and spread across countless cultures, is the legend of the Kraken. While most versions come from Norse lore and North Atlantic tales, the Southern Ocean has its own monstrous interpretations. In 2016, satellite imagery near Deception Island appeared to show a long shadow beneath the water, one that many compared to the legendary sea beast. Scientists later identified the shape as a sea stack, a rising pillar of rock hidden below the waves. But that didn't stop the theories. After all, colossal squid, the largest squid species on Earth, inhabit these very depths. So the idea of gigantic, unseen creatures roaming the dark Antarctic waters continues to feel disturbingly possible. But not every story from Antarctica involves beasts or legends. Some are far more subtle, yet far more unsettling. Throughout the 20th century, explorers and researchers have reported strange sensations, sudden chills, and the eerie feeling of being watched. They spoke of unseen footsteps in the snow, of presences that seemed to linger just out of sight, and of moments where the vast silence of Antarctica felt occupied. Antarctica remains the last great unknown, a land of silence, science, and suspicion. If this journey sparked questions or theories of your own, share them in the comments. And if you believe more people should discover Antarctica's secrets, like the video and help spread the word. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again,